apologize for the few days that I'm missing, and we'll keep going. All right. Thank you, Sophie.
If you want to give like
a short summary of the past 2 days. We're in what's called chapter 2 in the handout, so where we're holding, and we have been in terms of the page. That's what I'm trying to.
And I was really excited
page
to read
26.
the pasuk about Moshe.
That's right. I mentioned you. I gave you a bunch of shout outs the past 2 days.
Oh, yeah, yesterday we would have heard it, but there was no recording.
Right, I would have heard it.
Yeah, she said like both the.
Yeah, I gave you shout outs. We
Yeah.
learned Mashcheni yesterday. Okay. We
Play the song in my Weimer. I'm so excited. I love that song.
I actually don't know the song.
It's Zusha.
Zusha? Yes,
Yeah,
the song
yeah.
Mashcheni.
Also, there's a song, just in general about the mimer by what's his name, Pasternak.
Oh,
And
really?
so he
From
made it
Spire?
like I don't know what his first name is, but I don't
He
know.
runs the
Yeah. Whatever. He made it's like a little bit of a silly song, but
About
it's,
this mimer
but yeah,
specifically?
I mean,
have to
it's
check
just
that out. That's
it's
very
really
cute.
funny.
That's really funny.
So yeah, recommend.
So hopefully afterwards we can listen to it and see if we get
Yeah.
the song and connect with it. Beautiful. So we have been basically what we started in chapter 2 was going back to the original verse of the mimer, and I hope that this is not like. Have you learned Chassidic before? Are you familiar?
No.
Okay, so you're jumping right into the deep end.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's that's how we get the most out of it, you know.
Yeah.
So in terms of copies, I apologize. Dvari is coming. We're gonna make more copies. For those who do have a copy that I didn't either steal it from or they have it, we're on page 26. Page 26. So what we've been talking about the past 2 days is bringing back everything that we've learned in chapter 1 about the concept of Istrasat Le'ela, Istrasat Sata, the advantage of us initiating the relationship with God, even though if we initiate it, we're doing it from a place not necessarily of feeling so much, but rather doing it because we got to do it, pushing ourselves. But that, when we push ourselves and we actually put the effort in the relationship, that is when it's something that the Alter Rebbe calls it davar hamiskayim. It's something that can actually last, that can hold, and that can be real for us. If we just depend on God inspiring us, then it comes and goes, it's temporary. And so what we said, that idea, we then brought back to the verse of Adam Ki Yakriv. I think already we started this on Sunday, right? Right? I think so.
Yeah, we started
Yeah.
at the beginning.
We started at the beginning. So then, yes, the past 2 days we've been talking about the second part. So the beginning was Adam Ki Yakriv Mikem korban laHashem. Adam ha'elyon, God, when he Ki Yakriv, when he brings us close, Mikem, from among the Jewish people, our godly soul, korban laHashem, as a korban, as a union, as something to bring us close. Then the second part of the verse was Mina behema, min habakar, min hatzon, takrivu et korbanchem. From the different animals, you're going to bring your sacrifices. It switches from third person to second person, from singular to plural. And the reason for that is because there's a message there saying that when God brings us close, we then respond in plural with our godly soul, with our animal soul, with the whole of us, not just the spiritual part of ourselves, in responding to God and in putting in that effort for a relationship. And the Alter Rebbe says that this is good advice. That's literally the words that the Alter Rebbe uses, that it's good advice that God is giving us here, that this verse is there to teach us a lesson, which is that when God inspires us, we shouldn't just ride the wave of the inspiration expecting it to last forever, but we should right away, immediately make that relevant and practical for ourselves. And that's kind of where we're still holding. Hendel, you had some questions on that, right, yesterday, where we're trying to understand what does that look like, okay, making that practical for myself. So yesterday, we started to talk about the Istrasat Le'ela, and that's what we're going to actually read inside today. It's Le'ela, the Adam Ki Yakriv. What's going on when God inspires us? And we said, what's actually going on when God inspires us? We haven't read that inside yet. What's going on when God inspires us is that our godly soul, which is always in love and inspired and connected to God, that's the state that it's in constantly, goes from being in a concealed state to being in a revealed state. Right? So the love of the godly soul is called ahava mesuteret, a hidden love. It's not hidden to the godly soul, but it's hidden to us, to our experience, because the godly soul, in coming into our body, becomes enclosed and covered over by the animal soul. And in that so happening, we, in our day-to-day experience, don't feel the love that the godly soul has, and so it's called a concealed love. And the what's happening in an Istrasat Le'ela, what's happening when Adam ha'elyon, when God's light shines on us and inspires us in whatever form that takes, what's happening is that our godly soul is now experienced in our experience down here in our reality, right? So that's what we spoke about. That's what we spoke about yesterday. Sophie, does that like make general sense? Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't start talking about the second part of the Esther Shemtov.
So we did. I went on like a whole rant 2 days ago about that, but it was more outside. Now we're going to apply it inside. And we said in order for us to really understand the Esther Shemtov, we first need to understand the Esther Shemtov. Because the idea is, especially in this mimer, we're talking about, we said that there's two, I keep using the word systems, there's a better word, but there's two systems, right? Yeah. We said one is we initiate first, God responds with inspiration. Two is God inspires us first, we respond by putting in the effort. This mimer, this verse is specifically talking about when God inspires us first. Adam Ki Yakriv means when God starts, when God initiates the process, when we get something for free, when we get inspired by something outside of ourselves, not based on our own effort, this is how you respond. So we're focusing now on that formula first. Then we're going to switch. We're going to say, how can we trigger that ourselves, etc. So we said, what is happening when God inspires us? He's taking the godly soul. Animal soul speaks a different language, right? We said animal soul comes from a different place, doesn't get inspired or connected by the light that's shining on us from God. Only the godly soul does. So then we feel inspired. What do we then do with that inspiration? We have to translate that over to what's called the left side of the heart, to the animal soul. Make that relevant and practical. That's what we're going to be speaking about as well. But the next like 3 pages, which is an Esther Shemtov, yes. Okay. That follows an Esther Shemtov, right? Yeah. We spoke about Esther Shemtov on its own. We used 2 words, iskafia and ishapcha. We said iskafia means bending. When we put that work in to just rein in the desires and the urges of the animal soul and the triggers and whatever it is, to rein that in, that's the Esther Shemtov. Iskafia.
Oh, but it's really
Oh, that's right. That's right. There it does say akafia, because that means to bend. Aleph, kaf, pei, yud, aleph.
No.
Yes. Aleph, sof, kaf, pei, yud, aleph. I think
there's only one thing.
It's kafia. So we had a class, quite a few classes ago on this kafia and this hapcha. So now what we're holding inside is basically what we spoke about yesterday. Outside, we're reading it inside now, seeing in the words of the Alter Rebbe, and he's going to add sources and sources for this idea from different places in Torah. For this idea that the godly soul is the only one that gets inspired when God shines and gives us inspiration for free, and to explain what that process actually looks like, which we said is taking the Ava Musuteret and bringing it to the forefront and making it revealed. Okay? So we're on page 26. Okay, we're on page 26, and let's start reading from the third paragraph, I guess we'd call it again, which was V'hainu, as we explained. And again, for those who don't have a copy, if we can share, if we can do like 222. Sorry about that. We're limited today. V'hainu. So as we explained, as we explained above, right at the beginning of the mimer, that in every single one of us, right? We have 2 souls, and we said that they each come from different places. Now, the inyan Adam Ki Yakriv. When it comes to the idea of what we said Adam Ki Yakriv represents, when God brings us close, shehu isrusa de le'ela hanimshach mela, which is talking about a bid for connection that God sends out, that's drawn down from above, la'ayr, to awaken, ulahakriv, and to bring close, nefesh ha'adam shalamata, the soul of the person down here. Hine, then, ha'arazu megia, lenefesh elokit levad. This light, this shining, this inspiration only reaches the godly soul. Not because it's limited and it can't go further, but because it's shining on the animal soul too, but the animal soul is indifferent to that light. Because the godly soul, it says about the godly soul that it's a piece of God above. The Nikra, and it's called Ner Havaya Nishmas Adam. That the candle of God is like the soul of man. Shehine Bechinas Adam, that this level of person, Nase Adam B'Tzalmenu Kibnusenu, God said to the angels in Genesis, let us make man in our image and in our likeness, and that is specifically talking about the godly soul. So because we spoke about this already, that because the godly soul is sourced from Adam Ha'elyon. They speak a common language, God's light above and the godly soul as it's invested within our body. When that light shines, the godly soul responds to that light, bursts forth, comes to the forefront, and we actually experience it in our mind, in our heart, in our, in our lived experience. That light is shining equally on the animal soul, right? It's not like a special targeted laser beam. It's light. So what's happening to the animal soul when that light is shining on it?
It doesn't receive it? Like, doesn't get it?
It doesn't get it. Now, we say it doesn't get it. The light is shining on it. It's there. The inspiration is there. But it doesn't view it as inspiration. It doesn't get excited about it. It's indifferent to it. And
It's like the zebra.
exactly. It's like the zebra and the giraffe. I can't eat it. I can't eat it. Like, what's that? What's this inspiration that, our godly soul and animal soul are in constant conversation with each other and contact with each other. And so the godly soul is like, oh my God, that was so cool. Did you hear that? That was amazing. Like, God is real. I feel it. And the animal soul is not. The animal soul is not fighting, not saying, no, I don't believe you. I'm actually an atheist. No, I'm an agnostic. No, the animal soul is like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. So that's what we mean. The light is shining. The inspiration is shining on both. The godly soul receives it as inspiration. The animal soul receives it as someone coming and sharing that same class, but in a completely different language. I can't get excited if I don't understand what this is, right? And as I said, that Rabbi Jacobson says, it's like taking a horse to the symphony and expecting the horse to sit there and be like, wow, that was so powerful. No, it's a horse. A horse cares about horse things, okay? And again, we've been speaking a lot about this idea outside, and now we're really bringing it like we're really seeing how this plays out inside. So we see from this verse that the divine soul that resembles Hashem is also called Adam. When Hashem is invested in the 10 sefirot, he is referred to as Adam on high, Adam ha'elyon, in other places supernal man. You might come across that if you're learning Chassidut or Kabbalah in English, supernal man. And the divine soul is referred to as Adam below, Adam hatachton, the lower man, the lower level of man, which is made in the same image as supernal man here in this world. Since the divine soul is essentially divine and is called Adam, just as Hashem is called Adam, Hashem's light is called Adam, therefore it can receive this awakening directly from above, known as the Isra Sata'ila. They have a direct channel, okay? They have a telephone line. Now, let's learn a little bit about the godly soul. What we said yesterday, again, we're reading inside. So what do we know about the divine soul? The Yeshba, the divine godly soul, has within her Ahavativus, a natural love for God, mitzad sharsha, that comes from its source, umakor chutzpah, and the place from which it was taken. Rak, however, what's the catch to this love, this natural innate love that it has? Shehi musteres. This love is hidden. So there's two things that are important to know about this love. One, that it's natural. We didn't really speak about that yesterday. It's not something that it has to work on to feel, okay? There are certain emotions that we have that you can say they come naturally, right? Certain people, certain situations that the response to whatever situation that is a natural emotional response. We don't have to sit and meditate to have a certain emotion. It just comes, right? And then there's certain emotions that we have to work on. We have to put effort in, and then they come as a result. The godly soul's love for God is not something that has to, after it meditates on God and after it does mitzvot, then it loves God. No, it's innate to what makes it the godly soul. It's part of its DNA, we can say, is that it's obsessed with God. It loves God. That's number one. We need to know about the love. And number two, that love is covered over by an animal soul, and therefore it's concealed. It's not concealed from the godly soul, but it's concealed from us. Okay? And so what's necessary? What's necessary is that this love needs to be taken from a concealed state to a revealed state. It doesn't need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. Okay? As opposed to, as we're going to see, the love of the animal soul is going to need to be created. Okay? So it's a very big difference. Okay, and therefore, al yadei hagiloi, through the revelation, and this awakening from above, this inspiration from on high, teitze avazu, this love is going to come forth, mehahelem, from a concealed state, el hagiloi, to a revealed state, v'hiyazbatel laHashem, kaner b'fnei avuka, to be nullified, aligned, however you want to translate batel, given over to Hashem, like a flame before a torch. If you take a little tiny fire and you put it next to a bonfire, what's going to happen?
Oh, light. No, it won't light. I don't know. I've never made a
So maybe not a bonfire. Okay, that's like a little bit. If you have if you have one tiny little candle and then you have like a big, I don't know why you would have a big
It'll be
fire.
like subsumed into.
Yeah, what happens? Let's just say you have one candle and another candle. You put them near each other. What happens?
They join together.
They join together, right? They like literally, you can watch it. The fire is like moving. The flame is moving toward the other flame to the point that they become one flame, right? We do this for Havdalah. You're supposed to have two flames together. Familiar? Two candles in one fire. So sometimes if you don't have a Havdalah candle, which already has built-in 2 wicks, you'll just take like 2 matches and put them together. And you'll watch how they're going towards each other because naturally the fire. No, I don't know why. Actually, I don't know the physics or whatever about it, but they want to be one. They want to be. There's something about them that they want to be united, and so that's a mashal. That's an analogy for the soul and for God's light. They instinctively, intrinsically want to be one with each other. So when you hold up the godly soul next to God's light, it wants to just be subsumed and connected to God. That's the godly soul.
So we kind of need the animal soul so we don't just have our godly soul go straight back to Hashem.
Not just kind of. Actually, 100%. 100%. And I mentioned this yesterday. We just learned about Aaron's sons. And the way that the whole story of Aaron's sons is explained is that their godly soul took control to the point that they were like, we don't care. We know that there's a cost, and we don't care about that cost because this is all that we care about, right? That's called kalais hanefesh, when the soul expires, when the godly soul pushes down the animal soul to the point that the animal soul no longer has a say. And then what happens? He doesn't want to be here. The godly soul doesn't want to be here because this world is inherently covering over its ability to feel the connection and oneness with God that it craves and that it desires. That's why it's very important to remember, and I think this mimer is really helpful in that the animal soul is necessary. It's equally as necessary when it comes to our relationship with God and when it comes to God's purpose for the world. Because God wanted us to be in this world, and if we didn't have an animal soul, we would not be in this world. We would be up there. So that's the idea of the godly soul. Now we're going to talk about the animal soul. Okay? How then do we translate that over? Because what's going on in Esther Shemtov when we're inspired is that the godly soul is excited, the animal soul is indifferent. Now what? How do we then respond with the Esther Shemtov that the Alter Rebbe says is the message of this verse and the message of this mimer? That immediately upon our godly soul coming forth in an experienced, revealed way, we now need to respond. How do we respond? And the answer is by bringing our animal soul on board. What does that look like? Let's see inside. 28. Aval, however, hanefesh habahamit, our animal soul, shekvar yarda, which already descended, uklula mitayvara, and now it's made up of a combination of good and evil. It has become influenced in its descent into our body by the evil and the klipa that exists here, as opposed to the godly soul in its descent does not get influenced by any of that, like skips all of that. And it says about the animal soul, ruba kakula ra, that it's a consistency of good and bad and mainly bad. And in this context, bad doesn't necessarily mean evil. It means not caring about God. Okay? Sitracha literally means the other side. Yeah. Loi shayach v'loi markan. We cannot say the same thing about the animal soul as we said about the godly soul. That the godly soul is a piece of God, comes from God, and therefore when God shines, it understands it, it wants to connect. It innately, inherently wants God. No, the animal soul innately, inherently wants to survive.
Why do we say that? Like, it's also from Hashem. Like, why do we say that? Like, it must inherently want bad. Like, it is also, like, inherently, it is also part of Hashem.
Yes. Everything is part of Hashem. The question is, as it descended to this world, did it get influenced by the layers and layers of concealment that slowly embed this message that actually there's something other than Hashem, that actually you don't come from Hashem, or did it not?
But isn't the idea of Avos Soteros that it could be revealed? Like, in the
Ava Musateres
if-
is not of the animal soul.
but if Ava Musateres is in the Nefesh Elokis, then like it shouldn't really be hidden from the Nefesh Elokis. Like it doesn't. If anything,
It's not
like,
hidden from the Nefesh Elokis
So then what?
It's
is
not.
It, like,
Ava
why is it?
Musateres.
Why is it Musateres?
because it's hidden from us.
Godly soul, the animal soul hides it.
From
Yeah.
consciousness?
From the consciousness, exactly. The godly soul knows at every single moment that it loves God. It's not like trying to find that love. It's loving God. It's concealed from us. So the godly soul remains true to itself as it was above, as it is down here. It is brought that it does get affected to some extent. It's a really weird sound, but okay.
Construction.
It's brought that that there are different sources for godly souls. Have you heard this idea? That the godly soul. Yes, but that's yes. Within Tikkun, within all of the souls within this world, there are levels. Right. There are certain ceilings that we're gonna hit. Now never gonna actually hit those ceilings. We're never gonna be like, oh, like I've reached my full spiritual potential. Now I hit the ceiling because I come from the world of Yetzirah and I reached the world of Yetzirah. Now I'm trying to get to Bria. Like, it's not things that we need to worry about. But yes, the godly soul, that's why we have different levels of souls spiritually. We have tzaddikim, we have different levels of tzaddikim. Depends on how influenced they were by the descent. So some are more influenced by the world of Bria, some more by the world of Yetzirah, some remain in that state of the world of Atzilus. But they're all aligned to, they're all in touch with their nature. Every godly soul is constantly in touch with its nature, which is the original nature, which is that it cares about God and it loves God, and that's all that it wants. The animal soul started off, as we spoke about in this mimer, loving God, being passionate for God, and as it descended, it's not that love is concealed from us. That love is concealed from the animal soul itself. Do you hear the difference?
Well, I said the animal soul concealed is what conceals it. I guess it sounds like
There's two things. There's the godly soul, that the love of the godly soul for God is not concealed from the godly soul. It's concealed from us because the animal soul, the body, this world covers it over. There's the animal soul, which the love for God that it has is concealed from itself. Does that make sense? The animal soul, if you tap into the animal soul, it's not going to say, oh, like now you actually are listening to me. Now you'll hear that I love God. No, because it doesn't remember that it loves God. It used to love God in its source, and as it descended, it got incredibly deeply influenced by that descent, by the concealment, and incredibly influenced by the physical body, and incredibly influenced by this world as it eventually descended down here, to the point that it doesn't have Ava Mesuteres. It doesn't have Ava. It has Ava, but it doesn't have Ava for God. It has love for physicality.
Right, but then really that is Ava Musateres. Like the reason that it has love for physicality is because it's a love of Hashem that's warped.
So
no?
that's not how we define Ava Mesuteres. Say you could if you want to redefine Ava Mesuteres, you can say that, but that's not the definition that we're using of Ava. Ava Mesuteres means that it's not concealed from itself; it's concealed from us in our experience. Okay, so in that case, the godly soul has Ava Musateres because it knows that it loves God, and it's constantly sending little knocks, like constantly. Please act as if you love God because I really love God and I want you to do Torah and mitzvahs and connect to God. Like that's constant. It's never like, oh, today my godly soul forgot that it loves God. It's just more like it's concealed from me because my animal soul loves not God.
Right, but I
Okay.
feel like we also like always speak on a premise of like the reason that we're able to love Hashem and all of the things that comprise our Judaism is because deep within us we intrinsically want it, and that is our essence. So if we're saying that it's only half of our essence, only on our Nefesh side, we don't have it at all on our Nefesh Bahamas, then there's something missing there. So it must be that the Nefesh Bahamas also in its source, we need to tap into its source.
Right, that's the difference. It doesn't naturally. The God, animal soul does not naturally love God. In its source, it used to love God. So we need to teach the animal soul to love God. We don't need to teach the godly soul to love God. We just need to feel the love of the godly soul and tap into it. The animal soul, if you tap into the animal soul, you need to teach the animal soul to love God.
Could we think of it as like magnetic attraction? Like the godly soul is positive and is a, like
and the animal soul is negative, and like so the animals and like let's say that like Hashem's energy is like a negative magnet that attracts our positive soul, or the other way around.
Okay.
Then like our animal soul will be like just naturally averse to going towards Hashem, or we could say it the other way around, like our godly soul is the negative and Hashem is the positive, whatever you want.
And then they fit, right? Like
And then they fit. So like our godly soul, if our godly soul is like negatively charged and Hashem is positively charged, it's gonna be seeking to connect back. If our animal soul is positively charged, like our godly soul is attracted to our animal soul, which is what keeps them together. But our animal soul is not attracted to Hashem because it's the same charge. So you have to like
That's very interesting.
really force it to like go in that direction.
It's not happening naturally. It's not happening on its own.
Yeah, not
like
because
if you take
it
two
like
magnets,
wants to not be attracted to Hashem, but just because it already has a positive charge. It's like already.
It's got a different makeup.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe we could think of it that way, and like, not that it's like.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah.
According to Sonia, though, it brings some example that I think this is for actually the assumption where it talks about the entire same thing.
Yitzhar Yitzhar is not exactly the same thing, but
So I'm not sure what this example is brought
Okay.
up for, but it brings some example that that a king hires a prostitute to try to seduce his son, prince, and obviously he doesn't want his son to fall for his prostitute, but he wants to test his son who's going to become the king. This prostitute doesn't either want the prince to fall to be seduced to fall for her, but she's just doing her job. She's just doing what she's being paid for. So the connection is that the nonchalant is like the prostitute. It doesn't really want us to like fall for it, but it's just doing its job.
it's just doing its job.
So then I would think that it does have that love as well, but it just not able to express it.
Right. It has the love, but it's misdirected right now, and our job is to redirect it. But in doing that, it's very different. To say that you need to redirect the love of the animal soul is very different than saying that you need to reveal the love of the godly soul. And that's the question. Do you hear the difference between those two things? That the godly soul, we need to reveal the love of the godly soul. The animal soul, we need to redirect. Those are two different processes completely.
Based on like that example, could we think of it not that the animal soul is like really misled, but rather that like Hashem gave it a job to mislead our divine soul as a challenge, like that this is the work you need to do in the world, and like, but it's not going to come easy because you have to build your strength. So not like the animal soul is like, it's not even that the animal soul can't like be attracted to Hashem's energy, but rather that it's been designed to like, even though it wants to go back to Hashem, it's like the angels doing Hashem's mission. Like it's like Hashem told you this is what you wanted, that you what you have to do. Even though it's not what you want to do, you understand like how part of the bigger picture, like the animal soul understands how part of the bigger picture, its job is to be a test for the divine soul, to get the divine soul to do the work in this physical world.
Yep. That's exactly how Chassidus explains it. And that's really like the nimshal almost, the lesson from that mashal. And that's very connected to what we spoke about at the beginning. We spoke about at the beginning saying the animal soul is not bad. The animal soul comes from a place that it's deeply in love with God, the highest levels of angels, right? And the way that it's experienced down here is not that way. It's not that we just have to reveal the animal soul and then we'll feel that love that it had originally in its source. It takes an incredible amount of work to do that.
It's like been assigned to pull our divine soul away from Hashem to keep us in this world.
Yes, because if it wasn't doing its job, the godly soul is a flame. It's going to go straight back to its source, right? Flames are constantly going upwards. And I don't know if anyone says has something to do with the moon. Has anyone heard this before? Have you heard this?
It isn't in Tanya,
But it's not like any sort
like I don't think it's like a scientific thing.
The scientific thing, that the reason for why a flame is constantly going upward, right? Naturally, a flame is like is ascending, is because something
Like this sort
with the energy of the moon.
like
No, it's actually because the like particles particles with more energy rise above particles with less energy. So like the particles that are making up the fire, like the energy, is like vibrating faster. Like it literally contains more energy. So that's why like hot water like rises above cold water. Hot air
Smoke
rises
raises.
above. Yes, smoke goes
That's
up
why you're supposed
because
to-
the particles of that gaseous form are vibrating faster than the particles of the air around it.
That's so interesting. Okay, so that's so I guess it's a Kabbalistic thing with the moon. That's very cool. That's very cool. And everything that exists down here physically is mirroring, not just mirroring its source from a spiritual idea. So just as fire by nature, and you explained beautifully why, is constantly ascending, that's a mashal, and there's quite a few different verses in Torah that say, compare a candle and the flame to the soul. So too, the nature of the soul is to want to go up, which is why absolutely the animal soul has a very, very important job, right? As you were saying, like the prince can't become a king without going through this process, right? It's a very, very important mission and an important job. And it's a means to an end. It's not a means to itself, that it should just remain the way that it remains. It should be overcome. And what do I want to say? Do you get why I'm saying though that it's not Ava Mesoteris? That's the question.
What's
Or
Ava-Mesoteris?
Ava Mesoteris means that naturally this thing loves God, but something's covering it over, and therefore it can't be experienced.
It simply means the hidden love.
The hidden love. That's what it means. The hidden love, and that's referring to the love of the godly soul. The
And the animal soul has that. It's just also hidden.
So
It
that's
has
what
love,
I'm trying.
but it's a different type.
It has, right? What does
It's
the animal
just-
soul have right
it's
now?
not
Love.
hidden.
Love
It's-
for what? What does the animal soul love?
This
It's
world.
been assigned to love the physical.
Exactly. So its nature, its DNA is built up. Yes, it's sourced from a place that initially loved God, but right now its buildup is to love this world, and it has a job to do in this world. It's important. It's not a negative thing. That's its job, and therefore, that's the language that it speaks. So if you're going to go speak to an animal soul who cares about keeping you in the physical world, keeping you literally alive physically, and you start to talk about spiritual things that have nothing to do with its job, with its DNA, it's not going to relate. So it has love for self-preservation, for itself.
This might be off topic. You don't have to go into it, but I just like had a conversation with someone who like grew up more like Haredi and more like you need to suppress like the animal soul type like of worldly desires. And like Chassidus is very much like no, like we just can transform it for Hashem. So like how can someone who like grew up in that mentality, like how can how can you know?
I think that's what you said, like the Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Tov versus the animal soul, godly soul. It's very important not to equate the animal soul with the Yetzer Hara, with the evil inclination, and the godly soul with the good inclination. And they do get mixed up. Like I see now with the education my daughter's getting in Beis Yaakov, and I mentioned this to you before. You have the Yetzer Hara, you have I keep telling her, like, you're good, because I read a letter of the Rebbe that said you need to tell kids that, you know, they have a neshama. And so I keep telling her, and then she's like, yeah, but I have a Yetzer Hara. And I'm like,
Yetzer Hara is not, at its core, is not evil. Like, it's just doing a job as assigned by Hashem.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
It just has the title.
And
of
it's also
that, so
not the
it's
defining that's the so I don't know if you're in an ongoing conversation with this girl, but in general, to know first and foremost the animal soul is not bad, and that's how the Alter Rebbe starts off this mimer. The animal soul is good, and it's lost, it's misdirected. It's like taking a wild animal, saying this is a bad animal because it's not listening to me. No, it just needs to be tamed and taught how to work together with me.
I feel like we're like very much separating like the Nefesh Habahamis and Nefesh Elokis here. Is it possible to like blend them more? Because like they are interconnected, no? So like if like the whole point of like connecting them is that like the nefesh elokeh should work through the nefesh lahamis. So like, could we say like the nefesh lahamis is more of like the power, like the koach, or like the theoretical love, and that could be expressed in any way, and like so it is loving physicality because that's what's in front of it. But if we could show it to the Ava Musuteres is what it should love, then
Yes.
then the Ava Musuteres will come through the Ava of the Nefesh Lahamis.
Correct.
So it's really
yes,
one.
but how's that going to happen? How are you going to get? Yes, and when we spoke about that verse, Mashcheni Acharecha Narutza, the Rebbe has a beautiful explanation. I'll get to it in a second. The Rebbe has a beautiful explanation on this verse in the Smartim Lechem, where he says, Mashcheni, we're saying, God, bring out my Ava Musuteres and my godly soul, and then we will run after you. That actually we see that as, then we have to bring the animal soul, what plural, and so the godly soul is doing a favor to the animal soul. The Rebbe says it's the opposite. The animal soul then is going to teach the godly soul how to run towards God, because the godly soul on its own doesn't know how to run. It walks step by step. That's its nature. The animal soul has something incredibly essential in the service of God. And that's why the godly soul comes down into this world and gets enclosed and covered over by an animal soul. Otherwise, it just stays in heaven. Like, what's the point? Yes, 100%. And they're two separate things. And that's very important at the same time. Because if the godly soul will speak to the animal soul as if they're the same thing, it will never get through. The animal soul doesn't hear the same thing the godly soul cares about. The godly soul has to then take that love and say, okay, you're an animal. So if I'm going to just try and drag out of you this concealed love for God, it's not going to happen. So I need to appeal to what you love and start from there, right? As we said, carrot and the stick. Heard of this? The carrot and the stick? Right. What's that? I think it's like donkeys, animals. There's you want to get an animal to do what you want. The animal doesn't care about what you want. It does not care. I'm sorry, as much as you convince yourself. It doesn't care about what you want. So how do you get the animal to do what you want?
Put a piece of food in front of it.
Or a carrot to do what you want, or so that it does what you want, or a stick so it does not do what you do not want. What are you doing? You're saying, okay, you don't care about what I want. You care about what you want. How can we get you to do what I want by appealing to what you want? That's the conversation we have with the animal soul.
Working together on its level.
Exactly. So that's literally the carrot and the stick. What does the animal soul care about? Well, let me incentivize it with that. What does the animal soul not want? Well, let me incentivize it with that. So that's why I'm like being very stubborn on that. The animal soul does not have this inherent love for God in the same way as the godly soul has. Because if we assume it does, then we're going to, oh my God, that Torah class was so inspiring, right? That's what the godly soul cares about. And therefore, I'm going to push myself tomorrow morning to get out of bed at, I don't know, how early, whatever, at 7 a.m. because that Torah class was so inspiring. What's going to happen the next morning?
You'll sleep.
You're going to sleep. You're going to sleep because the animal soul's going to be like, I don't care that was an inspiring class. I need sleep. I'm tired, right? So it's like a nice idea in theory, but practically it doesn't work. We think, because deep down the animal soul also loves God. It's like, no, yes, deep down it does, but no, that's not going to work. Like, you need to appeal to what's going to get the animal soul out of bed in the morning.
Have like a yummy treat, like
Exactly.
for breakfast.
What do they call it? Coffee. There was like a whole thing they used to do in camp where they would have like iced coffee, and there was a name for it. So that if you woke up early, basically, you got a treat. That if you didn't wake up early, you didn't get. Now, is that manipulative? Is that incorrect education? No, that's exactly how we need to work. Because and I went on this once already, so I'm not going to go on it again. But if our animal soul is just doing things because it's suppressed and subdued, and the godly soul is just so loud in the moment, it's going to come up at some point. It's going to have a lot of complaints and arguments against all these things that you've just taken on. And it's going to be much louder than the godly soul at some point. Okay? So we're bringing the animal soul on board for two reasons. One, so it doesn't get in the way, and two, so it can actually teach the godly soul something. Okay? So it can actually raise the godly soul up to a place it could not have reached on its own. The godly soul has a mission in this world. And it can't achieve that mission without the animal soul. It cannot. It's like, I need to get to Tzfat. I don't know. And I can't walk there. So I need the donkey or the train, right? Let's say we're living in the olden days. I need the horse to take me to Tzfat. Like, I need it for the spiritual, elevation and high that I need. I need this horse to take me there. Okay? So you can sit the horse down and be like, listen, Tzfat is a really beautiful city. Like, you don't understand. It's gorgeous. Like, everything's blue and the air is so clean. It's not going to take you there. You could say, the truth is that deep down, that animal is a piece of God. It's true. Like, that horse is actually from the world of Tohu, if you want to get really technical. It's actually sourced in a higher place than you're sourced. It doesn't matter. The way that it's descended, the way that it's made up now as it is sitting in front of you is that it's incentivized by a completely different set of rules than the godly soul is. Is this making sense? Yeah? So Ava Mesoteres, I'm going to say one last time. Ava Mesoteres means I love God. I have trouble expressing it right now because there's a lot of things getting in the way. It's kind of like in a relationship. You can love someone and you love them. Like the love is there. And there's just life starting to get in the way. And then you have to remind yourself, like, okay, no, let's bring that love out. And then there's like, no, I actually don't love this thing. You need to teach me and convince me how to love this thing from the beginning. Okay, that's not Ava Mesoteres. That's taking the Ava of the Nefesh HaBahamis, and that's called Iskafia and Ishapcha. Iskafia means taking the love that the animal soul naturally has for itself and reining it in, saying, yeah, you love that thing. Telling the horse, yeah, you really want to go there because there's a very nice grass there, but I need you to go forward. So literally pulling it, okay? So Iskafia is reining in the love of the animal soul, and Ishapcha is transforming that love. Is teaching the animal to want what you want, to actually be excited to go to Tzfat because it's going to be getting lots of carrots and sticks, right? And whatever that translates and looks like.
What is Mesoteres actually?
Mesoteres literally means hidden. A hidden love. I can write on the board.
Yeah, can you actually spell the whole thing?
And that's why when I was saying that when we learn about the love of the godly soul, it's important to know the two definitions that the Alter gives here. One, we said Ava Mesoteres and also Ava Tivis. And it's very important to see them together. Mesoteres.
It's from Esther, right?
Yes, Esther.
Mm-hmm.
Esther means
Hidden.
hidden, right? Yes, exactly. Ahava Mesoteres, and that means a concealed love. And Ahava Tivit is very important as well. Because that's really maybe where you can get tripped up in thinking, well, godly soul, the animal soul also has Ava Mesoteres. If it doesn't have Ava Tivit, Ava Tivit means that it's natural and intrinsic. Ahava Tivit. Teva. What does Teva mean? Nature. That it's the nature of the godly soul to love God. It's concealed, not from itself, but because it descended into a world which covers it over. But naturally, that's what it wants.
He loves the mask, like the mask of Hashem. Like nature is the mask of Hashem.
No, that's not what it's saying. It's
Natural
saying
love. It's a natural love.
Tivit means that it's natural, that it's intrinsic, that it's how I'm built up. Okay, so like some people are naturally giving people, right? And some people are naturally stingy people. Some people are naturally calm and some people are naturally anxious, right? So naturally, the godly soul is in love with God.
Wait, so Ahava Mesoteres is love of the hidden?
Is a love that is hidden.
Okay.
A love that is hidden. And Tivus means a love that is intrinsic and natural. And it's so the animal soul has ahava can have ahava to God, can love God. We say in the Shema, love God with all of your hearts, plural, with your animal soul and your God. So it can love God, but it doesn't come naturally. So it doesn't have Ava Tivit. It can have Ava Hashem, but it cannot have Ava Tivit, a natural love to God. And the Mesoteres is almost like the next level of Ava Tivit, that the godly soul has a natural love, but it's concealed. It's not always concealed, but it's generally concealed. And then sometimes it comes forward. That's what we call Esther Shemtov, where God helps that love to actually burst forth and no longer be concealed. Okay?
So the animal soul does not have the natural love of the hidden.
A natural love of God, that is hidden. So the godly soul has a natural love of God that is hidden. Ahavativis avamusuteres. Together that forms a natural love of God that is hidden. The animal soul does not have a natural love for God, so therefore it doesn't matter if it's hidden or revealed, it doesn't have it. It can love God, but not from a place that it comes naturally, from a place that it has to be learned.
So why is it that the divine soul has a love that is hidden?
Because the divine soul descended into this world and is enclosed within our body, and so we don't experience that love. So it's not hidden to the godly soul. The godly soul knows it loves God, but we don't know that we love God because our body and this world conceals and covers over that love.
Okay, so the divine soul has a natural love of Hashem that is hidden for our consciousness.
Exactly. Yes, beautiful. And the animal soul has a natural love of itself and staying in this world. That is revealed. That is very much felt in our consciousness at every moment. Okay? We good for today? Any questions?
Can you explain what's it say?
Iskafia?
Yeah, iskafia.
Yes. So we had it earlier in the mimer, and we did a class on it. When we're talking about the animal soul specifically, that's where iskafia and isapcha comes in. Not even necessarily. That's when we're talking about getting the godly soul to teach the animal soul to love God just as it loves God. That's where these two come in. Iskafia, it's an Aramaic word. It's originally from the Zohar. The first iskad, iskafia, something that it sends away all the sitra achar, all the negative forces from the world. Just a little bit of iskafia and isapcha. So iskafia and is. The word here is kfiya, which means to bend, right?
Yeah.
How do you say to bend in modern Hebrew? Likfot? Likfot, right? So kfiya means literally to bend. And iskafia is mahapecha, lahafoch, to transform. Okay? And this is the conversation that we're really getting into from now, like for the next chapter or so. What does this look like of taking the godly soul's love for God that now is no longer hidden because there's been an inspiration, which means that it now is revealed in our consciousness. How do I then translate that over to the animal soul who doesn't care about the fact that the godly soul loves God even when it's revealed in its consciousness? The answer is iskafia and isapcha, by bending the will of the animal soul. The animal soul naturally loves itself and naturally cares about self-preservation. So it's literally a training process of reining it in and reining it in again and reining it in again. And to the point that we can have isapcha, which means transformation, to the point that the animal soul's love for itself has now been transformed to a love for God.
To change it.
Yeah, to literally change it. Same passion, redirected. Okay, so that's what we're definitely going to talk about what that looks like, and that it specifically says that there's different types of animals. We can bring different types of animals as sacrifices because we all have different types of animal souls. We need to get to know our animal soul, so that's what we're going to continue with next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Remind me your name because I remember
Monty.
it's Monty.
Yeah.
So I'm from like Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
What is Monte Carlo? It's a place?
Yeah.
So
That's
Spain?
right?
No.
it's like near Italy or something.
Yeah.